Welcome to Pale Blue Pod, the astronomy podcast for people who are overwhelmed by the universe but want to be its friend.
So cute. That's us and me. Hi, I'm Dr. Moiya McTier. I'm an astrophysicist, a folklorist, and a friend to the universe. It tells me when I have something in my teeth.
That's a really good friend. That's a really good friend. I get nervous. I don't know why I get mad when I have something in my tooth. It's a horrible ego reaction. I'm Corinne. I'm a writer. I'm a fun person despite that quality. And I'm really happy to be here today.
Yay. I'm happy you're here. And I am so happy that we have a guest here, a personal friend, a mentor, and also just a star in the astronomy field. Pun intended. We have joining us today Dr. Nicole Cabrera Salazar. Is a community builder and organizer, a trained astrophysicist who started Movement Consulting, a social impact company disrupting science by creating radically nourishing cultures for marginalized people in academia and beyond. She has been the chair of the Committee on the Status of Minorities in Astronomy, which we have talked about on the pod before, for the past 4 years. Like I said, Nicole is a mentor and a friend. And Nicole, thank you so much for being here. Is there anything else you would like us and the listeners to know about you?
I feel like you're my mentor, Moiya. I feel like I learned so much from you. But I guess if there's something that I would like the listeners to know is that little known fact, Moiya and I used to have a podcast many years ago called Cinnamon Sugar that we never released. And it was a podcast about being the quote unquote minority partner in an interethnic, interracial relationship. And so we did many episodes actually where we were just venting about our relationship to our then white partners. And, but then we never released it. So we just have all of these in the archive.
We recorded at least 10 episodes of Cinnamon Sugar. And both of our lives have changed so much since we made that show. I think about that often because I still see the email address sometimes.
Oh, really?
Pop up on my phone. Yeah, it's still down at the bottom of my list of past email addresses, but it's there.
I have a graveyard too of emails that have come and gone that I haven't signed into.
Yeah, I see it all
Gmail
the time.
Keeps them.
I see it all the time because I have a folder on my desktop called Cinnamon Sugar where all the episodes are, and it's just on my desktop. So I just see it every time I log on.
Wow. See, the podcasts that never get released to the internet, I'm sure there are some gems out there.
I know.
Like ours.
I know. In 20 years, we can sell them as EFTs or something.
Ooh. That'll be hilarious. So, Nicole, we record every episode in a new, cozy location. And when we have guests, we ask them to share one of their favorite cozy locations with us. So where have you taken us to today? We did have to use our very special Pale Blue Pod transporter machine, which can transport us through space, time, and alternate dimensions. So where are we today?
I was going to say Etheria, which is from the show She-Ra on Netflix, which is a very queer cartoon, very wholesome cartoon. But I'm going to say Hyrule because I've been playing Breath of the Wild, which is a Zelda game for the Switch for the past couple of months nonstop. I played for 12 hours straight the first day that I played it. So I may be here on the podcast, but my heart is in Hyrule.
and you've transported us there with you. We are actually pixelated right now. What can you paint the scene for us for listeners who have never played the game? What does it look like here?
Well, there are so many different kinds of terrain. There is a volcano. There are canyons. There's fields. There's marshes. There's a castle. There's a tropical area. There's a desert. So it's a very expansive game.
Okay,
yeah.
Okay. Do y'all want to walk over to the castle to do the recording? Okay. I think we can pick up and go over to the castle.
Sure.
Yeah. Oh, this is nice. There's good stonework here. I'm a fan.
Gorgeous.
Yeah, it's quite medieval. Very, it's giving England. So.
Well, we can add some flavor to it with our decorations. Thank you for sharing this spot with us, Nicole. We've never jumped into a video game before, and I love new experiences. Let's talk about you and your work and the human side of astronomy, which is why I really wanted to have you on the show, because I've seen the community building and organizing that you've been doing. So let's start with you. What has been your journey to and through astronomy?
Yes. So I grew up in Miami. I was an immigrant. I'm an immigrant from Chile, and I grew up in poverty, so I didn't really have a lot of access to science when I was young. And then when I was 11 years old, my mom married my stepdad, and that gave me access to finally go like on a school trip. And that year I was in middle school, and we went to Orlando, but we went to the Kennedy Space Center. That was one of the places that we went. Cool. And it was my first exposure to space science, and we ran around. They talked to us about space camp, and I was like, oh my God, I want to go to space camp. And I was so obsessed, and I didn't realize, space camp was very expensive, so we definitely couldn't afford it. But it put me on a path to study astronomy because I became very interested in space. I fought really hard. I went to an engineering magnet school for high school, fell in love with physics, did a community college degree, transferred to Georgia Tech. I did my bachelor's in physics there. And then I went to get my PhD in astronomy. And I had decided that was all that I wanted to do with my life. I wanted to be a professor. And during my PhD training, I experienced a lot of discrimination and just negative experiences that are not uncommon, unfortunately, for marginalized people in STEM.
Mm-hmm. We've bonded over that for sure.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. So, people who have oppressed identities, and especially multiple marginalized identities, tend to have a hard time in these spaces because they weren't created for people who are Black or Indigenous or immigrants or women or queer or disabled people. So I had some experiences that were really, really negative in that time. And it made me decide to leave the field eventually. And when I did, I had to pivot because, of course, when you're in academia, when you're an academic, basically the next 15 years of your life are planned out. Like, we know where we're going. We know how to get there. You get a postdoc and then another postdoc, and then you apply for faculty jobs, and then you get tenure, and it's all laid out for you. And
yeah, there's a rail system.
Yes, exactly. There's like an escalator, and you get on and you're not supposed to get off. And so when I was getting off, I didn't know what to do. And my career counselor, Ashley Watts, helped me. She was the first one to tell me, you're going to do your own thing, And even though I was like, lady, I just need a job and I don't know what to do with a PhD in astronomy if I don't do astronomy. That she was always like, you're gonna do your own thing. I see you writing a book. I see you having your own something, right? And I didn't believe it at the time, but she turned out to be totally right. So it was a very rocky road through astronomy for me. And when I was in career counseling, one of the sessions that I had with my career counselor, which is like therapy for your career, I was lamenting that I hadn't done a PhD in sociology or something like that. Because I was like, I feel like I shot myself in the foot. I'm doing this science that I can't really apply to another field or something like that. And she told me, yeah, but if you hadn't experienced all the things that you have, you wouldn't be able to help other people. And that's what I was doing. I was mentoring students of color a lot. I was creating initiatives to help students throughout their experiences in grad school. I've been mentoring students of color in STEM for the last 15 years. And so I was able to take that experience that I lived through and that I saw other people live through and turn it into something to change the face of and the culture of the field.
I'm so glad it was Ashley to walk you through that, because if you don't see an example of someone doing a particular type of career, it's really hard to just imagine it. You really need someone to say, this is possible for a career.
Yeah.
I'm so glad.
Thank you. Yeah, honestly, when I came to her too, it was great because she was like, I've never had a PhD student before at the Career Center. They mostly work with undergrads. She was like, I've never had an astronomy student. But she was very willing to kind of go on this journey with me. And she was the person who nominated me for my TEDx talk. And when they asked me, do you want to do this on your research? I said, no, I actually want to. At the time, I was really focused. I was taking sociology classes on the low, and I was very, very, very interested in like social justice, but within academic spaces and how they like all these social issues manifest in those spaces. And I was like, no, I want to do this talk about the intersection of STEM and equity and justice. So when I did that, afterward is when I started to realize ultimately what I wanted to do. At the time, I was like, oh, I'll be a science communicator. You know, like I've always loved doing that. But then I ended up pivoting to what I do now. So it's been quite the journey. Yeah.
Okay. So I think this is a good chance to ask about the work you're doing now.
I defended my PhD in 2016. So what is that? Almost 8 years now. I know. I know.
I was going to say 4 years ago, but that my brain is stuck in 2020. Like
not. I didn't realize we met so soon before you defended, Nicole, because we met in 2015. Wow.
Okay. I know.
It's been 8 years of Dr. Nicole.
Yeah. So I defended in 2016. And then about a year later, I started movement. And basically what happened was that I was tired of having white male bosses and I wanted to do my work on my terms and I wanted to continue to help the community. I felt very strongly that the things that had pushed me out of academia, other people should have like a better chance of doing what they want to do, what they love to do. And so I founded my company and I was doing the same things that I did when I was a grad student, except now I was charging money for it. So I was creating programs and initiatives and workshops and trainings and taking everything that I had learned and teaching people basically what not to do.
I love that. How I'm sure it is, but how is what you do with movement different from what others are already doing in this space?
You know, I don't know if y'all have talked about this on the podcast yet, but this isn't endemic to just STEM. This is something that's, or astronomy, this is something that's happening in every industry. And that is marginalized people were never meant to survive in our society, right? I'm going to talk about capitalism because I always do. You know, we live in a society that is very capitalist, colonialist. There's empiricism happening. The United States is an empire. We have a lot of history of disenfranchising and disparaging marginalized groups in the US and also around the world. Like this is a worldwide phenomenon. And so naturally, because this is happening in our society, it is also happening in every institution within our society, which is just a microcosm of the larger social structure. So everything that's happening out there, you know, quote unquote, the sexism, the racism, the homophobia, the transphobia, everything that we're seeing today in the news, the hundreds of anti-trans bills that have been passed and that are being proposed currently, the colonialism that we're seeing overseas, all these things, they're happening on a smaller scale within the field of astronomy, within academia, within all of our institutions. And so the effect is that there is a climate where there are only certain people that were really meant to survive in that environment. And so people like me and others who are even less privileged than I am are not meant to survive in academia. They're not meant to thrive at all. And this is something that is systemic. It isn't because of individuals that exist who are, you know, quote unquote bad apples, that if we just get rid of them, if we just wait for all the old white men to die out, you know, like it's not going to.
No. I mean, there are definitely those individuals who are causing problems, but that's not the whole issue.
Right.
It will continue after they are gone.
Right, exactly. And so because of these systemic issues that we have, that and by systemic, I mean they're part of the system, they're part of the infrastructure. Therefore, they can't just be eradicated like overnight. Something that I've noticed probably since like the 1950s, the United States has been implementing programs to increase what people call diversity, equity, and inclusion, and what I like to call equity and justice within these spaces, and especially STEM. There was a really big push during the Obama administration to increase people of color in STEM, and the incentive from the United States is that there is this workforce that needs to be technical, and there aren't enough people to fill all the technical jobs that are going to be coming. And so from their perspective, from the US's perspective, we need more people on deck. And so we need to get more people into STEM. And so, of course, like a really quote unquote untapped market is people of color who are very, very, very underrepresented in STEM. And to just give y'all an example, a few years ago when I started doing this work, I believe there were, I think, 13 Black female professors in astrophysics in the US. And I think maybe like 10 or 11 Latina professors in astrophysics. So out of thousands.
Yeah. We've talked about the statistics before and how they haven't really changed much in the last handful of years, even though AAS and like other universities, they say that they're doing all of this DEI work, but still it's been unchanged since like 2017 that 2% of astronomers are Black, that 6% are Latinx. Then they're not making any changes.
Right. And Indigenous people are so far below the map that they can't even be counted. It's like much less than 1%. And that's not, congruent with the national populations of these groups. And of course, this has been a conversation in STEM and academia for a long time, right? Like for a long time, people have been pushing for this. They've been trying many, many different things. Billions of dollars have been spent on these types of programs over the last couple of decades.
I mean, I'd like to see where that's going.
Right. And there are so many like diversity offices that have been created within universities. There are like positions that have been created, programs, trainings, all kinds of stuff, because many universities have been focused on this. However, even after the murder of George Floyd, which was another sort of catalyst for people to really embark on this work, there was so much momentum during that time. I'm like, I don't know if y'all remember, because it feels like 10 years ago. It wasn't actually that long ago, but it feels like 10 fucking years ago. It was like 2020. There was so much momentum. There were so many strikes that were happening. There was a strike for Black lives that was happening in academic spaces in STEM, where people were like, we're going to take this day and we're going to like think about how we are complicit in white supremacy. People started talking about white supremacy culture and anti-Blackness as opposed to just racism or diversity, which was a really good sign. But then now, fast forward a couple years later, what happened to those movements? Like, where has that energy gone? Has anything really changed?
Yeah, it's like they were running their feet really fast, but they were stuck in place. Like someone had picked them up like a cartoon, and they were running, but they weren't going anywhere.
It reminds me of like in those dreams you have, where you're like running away from something and like you're running, but you're just skidding like the floor,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly how it feels when we see them claim to be putting so much energy and resources into this, and then we don't feel any noticeable difference.
Yeah, of course. And the thing is, so I've been doing this work for the last almost 6 years now with movement, and I've been part of these communities on the ground. So through my volunteer projects, like I've been a member of the Committee on the Status of Minorities in Astronomy since 2016. So almost 8 years now. I've been the co-chair for about 3 to 4 years. So I've been involved in a lot of grassroots projects and as well as with my company, right? And something that I noticed is that a lot of people have been focused on the doing aspect, right? So doing the change, right? At that time when George Floyd was murdered, people were hurting so much. And it was like a huge wake-up call for a lot of people, not for Black people, certainly, right. But for white people and for non-Black people also, right? To see this happen so blatantly, it was a huge wake-up call. And so there was a lot of galvanizing around that. But the issue that I noticed is that people wanted to be seen as doing something, or not even just seen. Like, I think people they just woke up to this, right? This reality that Black people have been living with for centuries. And we're like, oh my God, what do? We have to do something. And so the doing started. Yeah. Right? People were crafting statements. People were writing policies. People were changing, getting trainings. I've never had more business than that year, truly, because...
honestly, same. Yeah, they wanted all the Black science communicators to be front and center for like 4 months.
Absolutely, right? Because it was like, we have to do something. And I understand that desperation, because people, if you are like living your life and you're like, wow, things are pretty great, and then suddenly there's this bomb that drops and you're like, holy shit, nothing is like how I thought it was, then of course you're going to feel a sense of urgency. And so there was a lot of energy toward that. But because we focused on the doing, like, what can we do? This desperate kind of like, I need, like, grasping for something. I feel like, this is my theory, is that the groundwork wasn't laid for sustainable change to happen.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, because there's all this momentum, there's all this energy, but we only have so much willpower. So that energy eventually dissipates. When we are not close to the trauma that happened that summer, like, the farther away we get from it, the farther away it seems. And like, it doesn't seem as urgent anymore. And therefore, these movements die down.
Also, it takes time to set up something with legs, something that is sustainable. You can't just throw that together as a reactive response. You have to do it with intention, and that takes time.
Yeah, absolutely.
So people were doing, what do you do if not doing? What do you advocate for?
What I advocate for being. You have to be. You have to be it, right? And so it's kind of like that really old adage, you got to be the change that you want to see in the world. You don't have to do the change you want to see in the world. You got to be it. And for me, something that I noticed is that, when people spring into action without having the foundation of the inner work that you need to do for these programs to really take hold and be sustainable, they will die out. People burn out because they're running on fumes. And so, like, when we focus on tasks, but we don't understand, like, we're not changing the foundation of who we are internally as people, then all of our actions are going to be hollow. And not only that, actually, we run the risk of harming people even more. So we run the risk of, like, doing things, like running out to do stuff, but no intention, no thought behind it, no foundation. And so we actually can cause more harm than good.
Because if you're just jumping to act, are you really taking the time to ask the people you're supposed to be helping what they want and what they need? Probably not.
Oh my God, exactly. Yeah, and not only that, I mean, that summer, I was involved with a Latina political organizing group called Mi Gente. They have it's a national organization, but they have chapters in different cities. And at the time I was learning about organizing. And one thing that I gathered is that people were like, you can't just jump into a protest. Like, you can't, if you just got here, you got to look around, you got to learn from people, because there's so many tactics that are being used. Like police are using tear gas, they're using physical force. There's all these things that are going on. And when you look at videos of people who have been doing political organizing for a while, you can see that it's very strategic. There are certain people that are in the front, for instance. There are certain actions that are being taken. There are certain people who speak. There are certain people who move. There's different roles. And when I was part of those groups, I was learning about, like, oh, this has to be an organized. It's kind of like the Montgomery bus boycott. When we look back on that, that wasn't a random. We are taught that Rosa Parks just said, not today. I'm not going to sit in the back of this bus. I'm going to sit here in the front. No, that was not. That was a very strategic, very planned out boycott that lasted for a long time, over a year. And it was very strategic. And so I think that when we jump into this doing and we don't have this foundation, we don't have the understanding, it's very difficult for us to shift. And the thing is, our philosophy at Movement is we give people the understanding of the system. We say, let's zoom all the way out. let's look at our society. Is there anything funny that you're noticing about this? Look at the strata, look at the people, right? Are resources really scarce, or are they just distributed inequitably?
Yes.
Is there a lack of money, or is there a very small percentage of people that are hoarding almost all the wealth? So we start off with that, with the system. Let's look at out here, what's going on. And then we zoom in. All right, now let's look at academia. Let's look at astronomy. Let's look at the science fields. What do we notice that's being perpetuated from that larger society? How is it manifesting here? And then we can zoom in even more to the individual. How are we as individuals agents of capitalism, patriarchy, homophobia, etc., within these spaces? Because a culture is made up of people. And so even though people have been struggling against, anti-Blackness, for land sovereignty, for all of these movements have been going on for centuries. Okay, like people have been in the struggle for a long time. And what people don't realize is I, as an individual, cannot erase anti-Blackness, racism, all these things myself. But what I can change is my sphere of influence. But my sphere of influence starts with me. So I have to lay the groundwork in myself first. I have to do the internal work of looking at what values have I internalized from my environment, from my society. What are the biases that I'm bringing to the table? How have these values become my own, right? And now I can begin processing and unlearning so that when I do go into the action mode, it's actually based in a foundation that I can support with that work,
Yeah. I love how inner reflection is such a big part of the process. You're almost asking these people to go through therapy on multiple scales.
Yeah.
Hey, it's Corinne, and I'm here to, you guessed it, thank our patrons who support the show every month. So thank you, as always, to our Sun-like stars, Sharon Llewellyn, Lissa, Scott Reynolds, Ian O'Leary, Augustin and Tom T., and to our latest pre-main sequence star, Sebastian Steiner. And of course, you can support us, hear your name on the show, and make it to our patron star chart, all by supporting us on Patreon for just about $1 per episode. And if you sign up for an annual membership, you get a 13% discount. Find the star chart, Patreon info, and more at our website, palebluepod.com, or by going right to patreon.com/palebluepod. And if you can't support us financially, that's totally fine. We love you very, very much, and you can support us by reviewing the show on whatever app you use or sharing the show with your friends. And if you wish you had more Multitude shows to catch up on, I have really good news. Members of the Multi-Crew get a whole RSS feed full of bonus audio, including Multitude's newest show, The Multi-Crew Review. Every month, Julia of Spirits and Join the Party sits down with other members of Multitude to talk about something that they love and they think you'll love too. I did it. I talked all about Vanderpump Rules and reality TV, which I hope I convinced you is worth watching. You can start with season 1, or actually maybe start with season 11. Anyway, there's episodes about video games, albums, activities like gardening, and members of Multitude share their passions with the hope that they can introduce you to something you'll love. Along with Head, Heart, Gut, Multi-Crew Review is exclusively for members of the Multi-Crew, the membership program that supports all of Multitude. Get Multi-Crew Review and Head, Heart, Gut, as well as other audio exclusives by going to multicrew.club and sign up today. Okay, bye.
You said you're working with people to get them to change these things. Is that professors? Is that students? Who are is clients the right word?
Yeah. So my clients, they're different people. So they're various career levels. I have mostly so far worked with scientific departments and organizations and institutions, research institutions, professional societies in the sciences. But what we're teaching them is so fundamental that it applies really to any industry, because everyone is going to be in relation with other people that do not share their identities. And all of us, especially as we move up the ranks through these spaces, it's not without a cost. Like there's something that we have to sacrifice in order to get to the next level. And what we're sacrificing is our humanity. Every level that we go through in academia, we're being asked to cut away our humanity so that we can do it, right? Whether that means my emotions, for example, emotions not welcome in science, not welcome in academia, and, you know, is considered antithetical to science, right? I'm asking there, I'm being asked to leave all these aspects of my humanity behind. And marginalized people are the canaries in the coal mine because everyone is being asked to do this. But the people who are the most marginalized are going to notice it first.
Because we have fewer safety nets and support systems to catch us when we do inevitably fall between the cracks, when we're not being treated like humans. Because, you know, like maternal paternal leave policies, the whole paying for attending a conference up front and then getting reimbursed for it later, like all of the ways that academia is done assumes that you don't have the normal human problems.
Right. And also we're seen differently. We're perceived differently. And therefore the rules are not applied the same to everybody. So we are going to be the first to feel it. But academia, and it's not just academia, it's the curiarchy, it's all the institutions, right?
Curiarchy is a good word.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like all the systems, right? All the isms. It's like we're being asked to cut our humanity, and every step that we go through, it's like we're drinking more and more of the Kool-Aid. I've had this theory for a long time. When I was studying sociology in community college, I had a wonderful professor, and I learned about total institutions. Are y'all familiar with this term?
No, I don't think so.
So a total institution is a place where you go and they break down your identity as an individual. And the way they do that is one way is through humiliation tactics, so that they can rebuild your identity in the form of that institution. So for example, the military is considered a total institution. Psychiatric hospitals are considered total institutions. And my theory is that academia is a total institution.
It sounds like a cult practice.
Oh, yeah. Cults are also total institutions. For sure. Yeah. Moiya, you're gagged.
I am. I think you can see the wheels turning because, yes, I'm like thinking back through my experiences in academia and how it trained me to think and behave in a certain way, to treat other people in a certain way, and to think of myself with a certain image that is dependent on certain metrics that I am not in control of. Wow.
And the humiliation, right? So if you think about a qualifier exam, I don't know if y'all have talked about that on this podcast yet, but like how
not really.
Right. So as a PhD student, for folks who are not like familiar with this process, you enter a PhD program and you have generally, in STEM, it's like 2 years of classes, and then you take an exam to qualify you to continue as a PhD candidate. Generally, you have 2 chances to take the exam. If you fail both times, you leave with a master's degree. If you pass, then you get to continue with your PhD. But the exams are designed, honestly, to me, in a very cruel way. Yeah. My qualifier exam was a 6.5-hour written exam based on the classes that I had already passed and already taken. And then it was a 3.5-hour oral exam where it was, you have a committee of professors and they all sort of sit at a table and you stand at a board and they ask you questions. And generally the professors will ask you about their field or their class that you took with them. And it's maybe 4 or 5 professors, but in my department, the committee was a secret. So when you showed up to take the oral exam, it could be anyone. It could be any subject. So you have to study everything only to be asked about certain subjects. It was horrifying. And it was
awful.
It was, yeah, it was awful and humiliating. Like, you're standing there, and I probably memorized 300, 400 equations, constants. You had to know everything by memory. It is meant, this is, my theory, it's meant to be humiliating. A lot of people have described it as a hazing ritual, right? A rite of passage. And people who want to get rid of these exams, which largely disproportionately negatively affect marginalized people, right, are saying this doesn't account for neurodivergence. It doesn't account for disability. It doesn't account and the tests are very subjective. So the way that they're scored, it isn't like standardized. And even if it were, it would probably be standardized to the majority, which is white men, able-bodied, heterosexual, neurotypical, etc.
Right. And it doesn't say anything about your ability to do research, which is ostensibly what those programs are for. Yeah. I did not have a qualifying exam because David Helfand at Columbia pushed really hard to get rid of it well before I was there. And so the only thing we have to do to advance to PhD candidacy was write a proposal for what our thesis project would be and then defend that proposal in front of the committee that we chose, which feels... It was way less it wasn't humiliating, actually. It was very stressful, but it wasn't humiliating. Yeah. It was directly related to the work I was going to be doing in my PhD. It didn't matter what my committee members' research was. Right. And I wish that other departments had something similar. I know that there's a movement to get rid of quals that is very mildly successful, and I know you've done some work.
Oh, yeah.
With that. Yeah.
For sure. We can talk about that later. But yeah, I'm so glad that you had that experience. I feel like there are other ways in which humiliation is kind of used, like even in general in the fields, right? When you're giving a talk, for example, at a scientific conference, like some people will heckle you. A lot of people outside academia are not maybe familiar with that, but like that's very common. I know, Corinne, you're a comedian, and so like heckling is the ultimate sin, Well,
I'm just kind of shocked that it would happen outside of that environment because I'm like, I think it's such a cruel, bizarre thing to do. Yeah. And in my mind, there's so much formality and maybe too much professionalism in academia that I'm surprised it would happen.
Like decorum.
In that setting. Yeah, exactly. That's the word. Yeah.
Well, there is that veneer on top of it. It's often presented as like something at the end of your talk and there's a space for questions. And it's like, well, it's more of a comment than a question.
Yeah.
Or people will just like rip you to shreds.
They follow the protocol.
Right. It's like under the guise of like, well, I'm just here for the research. I'm just wondering, or I'm just giving you some feedback that you could use. I don't know,
That is how, like, so many writers groups I've been a part of, or not so many, but, like, you'll see that in, like, feedback sessions for, like, you're doing a very vulnerable thing, too, of, like, sharing, a piece of your soul. And then the feedback is something so, like, is that a question, or is that, what was that?
Yeah.
It's just hurtful.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, I mean, I feel like with all of these things in place, like you're really put through this process where your whole identity is broken down. And I think that like the closer you are to that like hegemonic ideal, right? You're like a straight white man who is able-bodied, neurotypical. The closer you are to that, the more you will be rewarded, right? And it's not even just your alignment with those identities, but the things that we value. So for example, anything that's aligned with masculinity, I would say, toxic masculinity, aggression is rewarded. Although when you are a woman, and especially a woman of color, aggression, you're walking a very tight rope between likability and competence. So this is something that was written in the Double Jeopardy report on women of color in STEM back in, I want to say 2017, but I'm not super sure on that. A very fascinating report. It's not even just the identities. There are certain values and characteristics, a lot of which we're not cognizant of. They are sort of given to us by capitalism as well. Production value, right? How many citations do you have? How many papers do you have?
Your H value?
Yeah.
Or is it H index or something?
Your H index. Your value as a human being is reduced to a number.
Yeah.
So the aspect of humanity is completely removed from the equation. And we value that. We reward that. That is incentivized, right? Treating other people in this way as well. I cut away my humanity, and I'm also supposed to cut away other people's humanity. this reminds me of are y'all familiar with the panopticon?
Mm-hmm.
A little.
Yeah, so it's this principle in sociology. This blew my mind, by the way, when I learned about this in sociology, where the panopticon is like, you imagine like a prison, but it's kind of like a tower that is cylindrical. So all the cells are facing each other and there are no guards and all the cells are open. So anyone can leave at any time. But the thing is, everyone is policing each other. So this describes...
Oh, I see where you're going with this.
Yeah, this describes any sort of oppressive system. For example, patriarchy, let's just say sexism, right? Men don't have to be around anymore to police gender because we do it to each other, right? We do it to ourselves.
Yeah, there's I remember the Panopticon Day in my sociology class too. Because part of it is that there's like a shielded thing at the top of the cylindrical like center, and you don't know if the guard's there or not there. So you kind of act like they're always watching. So we're just upholding this, you know, police state or, you know, whatever institution you want to put it to, even if it's just you, even if you're alone.
Even if you're alone. Yeah.
Yeah. I worked at Whole Foods during like peak COVID when I lost all my jobs, and I was a shopper for like the online orders, which is like the booming business for Amazon, obviously. But they would print our metrics like we were robots, like how fast we were shopping, who's getting the most items right, who's like has the and they would put it on the like locker. And they didn't even organize it by like your employee ID number. They would do it by your first and last name. So everyone had like that you'd be in the red if you're like not. And there were like elderly people who among this like team of shoppers. It was so disturbing. Yeah. And I did not. I mean, I had to stay in the job because I needed work, but it was not an enjoyable thing for that kind of humanity to be taken away. I mean, this is not breaking news for anyone that like Amazon is crazy, but but that specifically was like, it felt like such a literal, I don't know, they were just showing all their cards of like, oh, you want us to be robots and this is your tactic to take any kind of emotional human element out of this work. It was crazy. Just the tactics that these large things will do is always surprising to me.
Yeah, and that's
like,
the thing.
Not surprising, but still
it's not. Yeah, exactly. It's not
Yeah.
surprising. I'm just always like, are we still doing that? Like, we're still doing this?
Yeah, and it happens in academia too. It looks a little different. And the thing about academia is that there's no HR.
Yeah.
And now HR in a corporation is not really there for the
they're not
employee.
on your side.
Right? So they're there to protect the company from being legally liable. That's the whole point, right? However, not even having that is a little wild, you know what I mean? And so that's what happens. We grow up through academia and we are slowly chipping away there. The institution and the system is slowly chipping away at our humanity. We in turn do that to others ad nauseum, right? And the cycle continues. And so going back to the work that I do through movement, this is one of the fundamental things that we teach people is how to critically introspect, sort of look at the whole system with a critical lens, an intersectional lens, right? We're breaking this down. What's in the walls? Like, what are we not seeing, you know? Especially people of power and privilege, right? And then we look at ourselves and we ask questions. Like, you know, one of the questions that I ask in the mentoring course that I teach is, what injustice did you have to look away from in order to get to the position where you are today? What injustice did you have to perpetuate in order to get to the position where you are today? Because that's what the system asks us to do. We can't viably get there without, like, unscathed. And it's all of us. You know, James Baldwin talked about how in order for white people to dehumanize Black people, they had to become less than human themselves. Because a human being cannot harm another human being in that way right? And so the act of dehumanizing another individual, another person, means that you are dehumanizing yourself in the process.
Yeah.
And you see that. You see that in academia. It's incredibly powerful when we get to those modules in the course where we are like, we're really breaking things down and people are kind of like, you know, putting the dots together and being like, damn, like, not only did this system fail me and abuse me, but then I also turned around and reinforced those values, sometimes completely unconsciously. Sometimes I was incentivized to, and I was rewarded for that. And so I didn't even see how that could be harmful to other people. And that's the work that we do. It's transformative. Like, we provide transformative learning spaces where people can learn and unlearn these systems, these values, so that we can be in right relationship with the people around us, especially people with less power, because we're existing in these systems that have a vertical power structure, right? And there's a hierarchy. And as long as that hierarchy exists, of course, there's things that we can't change about it, but there are things that we can. And so I think that if enough of us are doing that work, then we can completely shift the culture to be something. And I don't just mean, oh, a seat at the table, inclusion. I want to be inclusive. No, I mean a space that is radically nourishing.
Yes.
Where people can thrive. That's what I want to see.
We're almost at the top of the hour. And so we have time for just a few more questions. And I kind of want to know what that looks like to you. Like, what is your dream for the astronomy community?
My dream, so I'll tell you my dream for movement, and that is that we become obsolete. You know, I don't want there to be a reason for us to exist. I want us to, like, I founded this company because I was so hurt and literally traumatized. Like, I did deep trauma therapy around my grad school experience, and I'm still healing those parts. But what I want now, like, that was kind of like my incentive to start, but what keeps me going is like a world where there's just so much community and care and love and empathy and compassion for each other and humanity, where there's room for us to be our whole authentic selves. I want to see that. That's what I want. That's my dream.
Oh, that's beautiful. Like Hinge. Meant to be deleted.
Yes.
Yeah. That should be my tagline.
Yeah.
Yes. I want to end with you bragging about yourself and some of the work that you've done and how people can, like, get you to come talk to them in the future. So what work have you done that you're really proud of, and what services can people hire you for going forward? Yeah, sure. Of course. So I'm always doing way too much, y'all. Like, that's my confirm. Thing. Right. So one project that I'm really proud of, this was a grassroots project. It wasn't even through movement, but I innovated this idea called the Rainbow Village, which we implemented at the American Astronomical Society winter meeting this year. And it is a furnished booth space at the conference that is specifically for people of color and allies. And so we had programming there, we had community circles every day, and it was just a place people could use to meet each other, like people of color meeting each other. Maybe they would gather there, go to lunch together, and just build community. And that was an incredible success. I'm very happy about it. We partnered with Black in Astro, Vanguard STEM, and also the League of Underrepresented Minoritized Astronomers, or LUMA. So that was an amazing project that just happened. And it was so successful, in fact, that other organizations have reached out to be like, hey, can we bring the Rainbow Village to our conference? And that's wonderful. So if y'all want to do that, like, please let me know, because that would be, I'm very happy to partner with other folks on that. As you mentioned earlier, Moiya, I am part of the movement to abolish the qualifier exam. And Hell yeah.
So I'm working with some collaborators in STEM education research and sociology and STEM to research the effects of the qualifier exam on marginalized people and assessments in general. And marginalized people in these PhD programs. I'm also writing a paper with a client of mine, actually, who's a chemistry professor at Pomona College. His name is Nick Ball. And we're writing a publication for the Journal of Chemical Education with about our work on collectivizing the classroom. So we take these undergraduate STEM classrooms and we turn them into a collective. This was an idea that was started by Professor Jorge Moreno, who is a faculty member at Pomona College. And we worked on this together, and I've continued that work through movement. Nice. I'm working also on a project with Carlos Vargas, who is studying the effects of poverty in astronomy. So that is another collaboration that I'm part of. It's really, really wonderful. We're going to be surveying the community, and that's happening very soon, actually. We just got IRB approval for that.
Interesting.
And in the future, this is my dream. And I want to put it out there. I want to manifest it, okay? So yes. If anybody hearing this is interested, please let me know. This is probably going to require funding from like a private foundation or something like that. So you know how there's like summer research programs like for scientists? So undergraduates and graduate students, there's like what they call REUs. So like a research experience for undergraduates, usually funded by the National Science Foundation or some other entity. I want to have a movement CEU, or like career experience for undergraduates, where, because I've met a lot of marginalized students, they're doing they might be doing like a PhD in STEM or an undergrad in STEM, but what they really want to do is they want to do what I'm doing. They want to create cultural change at their institutions and in the field. And the only way for them to really get involved with that is through volunteer grassroots work, which is great. But they often aren't compensated for it. And there really isn't a place for them to train on how to do that. And so I want to create a summer program where I will teach them to do what I do, how to facilitate difficult conversations on race and gender and sexuality and all of these things, social justice concepts, but also like, how do you teach these concepts in a way that is like really engaging, and how do you create a workshop? How do you navigate this?
That's awesome.
And I want movement to be a training ground, because I'm only one person, right? But I know that there's lots of people out there who want to be doing this work, and I'm excited to create that.
Oh, I love that so much. Great. Yeah, I know for a fact that you already have several people in your orbit who would be great for that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Big time. Like the desire is there in the community. Like,
yeah,
there are, and the thing is, by now there's like summer internships for science communication, for policy, for all these careers that people can have with a STEM PhD, but there isn't one for the kind of work that I do, culture change work, you know, even though it's definitely needed and necessary.
Oh, I love that so much.
I'm so excited for you.
Me too. And for the field, because your sphere of influence is growing, and it already reaches pretty far. How can people pay you to make their institutions better?
Well, they definitely can. Right now, so there's so many ways that people can work with me. And right now, the thing that I'm really focusing on is public speaking. I do a lot of public speaking. I've been doing it for like 15 years, and that extends beyond academia. So I'm very happy to give talks at companies, you know, employee resource groups, universities, that kind of thing. So that's something that I'm like really focused on right now. But if you want to work with me in a consulting relationship, so for example, like, let's say that you are on a hiring committee or an admissions committee, and you want to make sure that it's equitable and you need some like expertise. Or if you want a series of workshops for either the people in power or empowerment workshops for the marginalized people in your organization, you can go to our website. It's wearemovement, WEAREMVMT.com.
That link is in the episode's description for sure.
Yes. And you can book a consultation with me so that we can chat about how to create change at your organization, which I would be very happy to do.
Yay! If any of our listeners are at universities, if you are in a department and you feel like there are humans in that department who need to interact with each other, then I think you should invite Nicole to come and help facilitate that human interaction to be a little bit better. Any social handles that we should be aware of?
Yes. Oh my gosh. Thank you. So we do have an Instagram and we have a Twitter. We are much more active on Instagram than we are on Twitter right now, like so far. But our Instagram handle is @MoveBoldly. And if you go there, you'll be able to find my personal Instagram. So if you want to follow me on Instagram. On Twitter, it's the same as our website. We Are Movement, WEAREMVMT. And my personal Twitter, which I go on there every once in a while to say things. Other times I'm just retweeting things that other people are saying that are very important. But my personal Twitter is Jazztronomy. So it's JAZZTRONOMY.
Yes. Yeah, I've known you for a long time. And that's like how I think of you online is you are Jazztronomy.
And it's so funny because like I've been trying to shift to Doctora Nicole, but if I online, like, because I'm like, this is kind of like my brand now, but somebody on Twitter already has all of the possible handles that I could have with that. So I haven't changed it yet. But, if you're like, if you know me by Jazztronomy, I'm never going to change it.
It's good. It's like, I thought Go Astromo was not a great handle, but now it's who I am. So
yeah. I know. Isn't that funny?
Corinne Intellectual.
I know. Mine's Corinne Intellectual, which I did in like 2010, which is who I am.
Back in the Wild West of the internet.
I know. I was like, I didn't think this would be like, I didn't know what this was.
But that's a really cute one, though. I like that, Corinne Intellectual.
Thank you. I'm going to keep it because I think it's too weird to change now. Certainly there. I mean, I have like internet friends, so I'm like, I don't want to give them a jump scare.
Right. Yeah.
Right. It's polite to keep the handle.
Yeah. Now it's nice. Now it's a service I'm doing.
Selfless, really. Oh, Nicole, thank you so much for joining us and for sharing your work, which is incredible.
Thank y'all so much.
I hope that there are people listening right now who know they can benefit from some of the services you offer. So thank you so much. And listeners, just like science is done by humans, the world is run by humans. You are human, but you are also space. So don't forget that.
Yes.
Yeah. Right. Bye, everyone. Pale Blue Pod was created by Moiya McTier and Corinne Caputo with help from the Multitude Productions team. Our theme music is by Evan Johnston and our cover art is by Shay McMullen. Our audio editing is handled by the incomparable Misha Stanton.
Stay in touch with us and the universe by following @PaleBluePod on Twitter and Instagram, or check out our website, palebluepod.com. We're a member of Multitude, an independent podcast collective and production studio. If you like Pale Blue Pod, you will love the other shows that live on our website at multitude.productions.
If you want to support Pale Blue Pod financially, join our community over at patreon.com/palebluepod. For just about $1 per episode, you get a shout out on one of our shows and access to director's commentary for each episode. The very best way, though, to help Pale Blue Pod grow is to share it with your friends. So send this episode, this link, to one person who you think will like it, and we will appreciate you for forever.
Thanks for listening to Pale Blue Pod. You'll hear us again next week.
Bye.